Hello everyone, in this video I will explain the concept of periodic function. You know that in case of scanf, printf and many other functions in C, we can pass variable number of arguments which are actually optional. That is because these functions like printf, scanf are periodic function. They can accept n number of optional arguments. In this video I will explain how to create a periodic function in C. To know more about periodic function, the first step should be you can type man stdarc, which is actually a library, standard arc library. Then press enter. Here you will get a brief introduction and all the functions related with creating a periodic function in C. So the first step is to include standard arc.h. This is a very simple program I write for demonstration. Here you can see the first step should be including standard arc header file. So now let's look into the syntax of creating a periodic function. So now I'm going to create a simple periodic function called sample func, which require an integer as a mandatory argument, and this is very important. Every periodic function should at least have one named variable or mandatory argument, and the rest of the arguments are optional here. So this sample function require an integer and rest of the arguments are optional or variable arguments. Now I will show you how to define this function. As the first test, I will not be using or utilizing the optional argument. I will only pass a single argument like we mentioned in this function prototype, an integer, which is actually a mandatory named argument. You can see that this sample function require an integer and optional arguments, but I am not going to pass it. Here you can see I only passed sample function with the value of 100, and in the definition you can see that 100 will be stored inside this number count local variable, and the number count local variable will be printed. That's the simple way to access a periodic function. As you can see, rest of the codes are commented out and they don't have any effect at all. So now let's run this program, compare and run. You can see the first value argument is 100. Like I said, you need at least one named argument or mandatory argument. You cannot create a periodic function like this. Let me comment out the previous function prototype. You cannot create a periodic function which doesn't have any named argument or mandatory argument. So what if you create a function like this which only accept optional argument? So let me comment out the other lines of code. Now you can see that the function only require optional argument and it doesn't require any named or mandatory argument, and it doesn't do anything at all. So what if I compile this program? As you expected, it shows me that ISOC require a named argument before ... means optional argument. That means we need at least one named argument before giving any other optional argument. You should remember the syntax because it's very important, and I will explain later in this video why we require at least a named argument. Now let's pass more variable to this function. Here you can see I am passing the value 0 as the first argument to the function. That will go to this num count local variable. Then I am passing a integer at then a string and a bunch of other variables. Now I will show you how to access each of them one by one. First we will try to access this value 12, which is an integer value passed with sample function. In order to do that, once again we will go to the man page. Here you can say that we have all these functions which can be used to access the optional argument passed, but to access that optional argument you need to create an object of type VA list which will be passed to each of these functions. Let us do that. Here you can see I already did that. I created a variable PARC1 which is of the type VA list. Now I'm going to comment out this printf statement which is not required for our demonstration. Next step is to call the VA start macro whose first argument will be the PARC1 which is of the type VA list and the last named argument in your function definition. Here you can see there is only one mandatory named argument in our case. It is number count. So this number count will be passed. Suppose you have another named argument called char x and float y. Now in this case the last named argument is float y or y, variable y. When you call or use the macro VASTAT, you should pass y, the last y variable which is the last named argument as the second parameter. That's why we need at least one named argument while creating periodic function. I hope you understand the syntax. Once you did that, you can access the first integer passed to this periodic function using the below syntax. Obviously I am going to receive an integer, so I need to create a variable of type int. Then we should use the var function to retrieve the first optional argument which is of the type integer. So obviously every function as per the man page it require an object of type va list. We already created that. Its name is pr1. The first argument will be pr1, and then with what kind of data type we are going to retrieve. In our case, I know that is integer, so we are going to give int. You should know the data type of the argument passed to retrieve it. That's very important. As you know, she is not dynamic like Python. You need to know the data type before using it. Then we are just using printf function to print that value. Now let's compile and run this code. Compile, then run the code. You can see we get the value told. The next argument is a string literal. That means it's a character pointer, as you know that. Again, the syntax is very similar. There is nothing much. You obviously need a character pointer to store the address of the string literal. You need to create a character pointer first. Then you call the vararg function and pass the first argument, that is parg1, and the data type you are going to retrieve, that is a character pointer. That's it. Then I use the printf function to print the string. Let's check whether it's worked or not. Now this time I am going to compile and run. You can see that I got hello world. What about the case of this kind of variable, which is a variable of the structure? Here you can see I defined a structure called test, and I created a structure variable my test and assigned it member count with a value 5. So let's try to pass this my test variable of type test to this sample function and print the value of this int count member. Again, you can just pass the variable my test as you do for any other variable, and obviously in the function when you need to retrieve that my test variable, you obviously need another variable of the type test. Everything is same. We will call the vararg function, then we pass the first argument, then the type of argument we are going to return, that is in test in this case. Here you can see the printed struct member value is 5. That means we are successfully printing the value of count in the my test. This goes same for a structure pointer too. You can do it yourself. I am not going to explain that case in this video, but it's very straightforward. Now you can see the fourth optional argument is ptr, which is actually an integer pointer. You can see here I declare a local variable called loc_var, which is as initial value 0, and this ptr is pointed to that local variable. What I am trying to do is I will use this sample function to change the value of local var indirectly just by passing this ptr. Once the function return, I will try to print the value of this loc_var integer variable and check whether it changed or not. So let me comment out this line. Again, the syntax is same for pointer too. You know that we are passing a function integer pointer, this ptr, so we need another integer pointer over here. As always, the first argument of vararg will be parg1, then followed by the type of data we are going to retrieve, this integer pointer, so int star. Here I am using this new ptr to assign a new value of 777 to this local variable loc_var over here. So let us check whether that works or not. Here you can see, does sample fund really change the value of s? It is changed, because now the value is 777. Initial value given was 10. It is changed to 777 in this function, and when we print after the sample function return, we get 777. That means the value is changed, of course. What about function pointer? As we did for the normal integer pointer, same rule goes for function pointer. You can see I created a function pointer called funcptr, which can actually point to a function which accepts two integers as parameter and return an integer. So I created a simple add function which accepts two integers a and b and return an integer. This is the sum of that two variable. Later in the main function, I created an fptr of type funcptr and I assigned the add function address to that funcptr. Then later I pass that function pointer for fptr to this sample function. As we did for all other data type, the same rules applies. We need to create a function pointer of type funcptr to get this value. You can see here the first argument is parg1, then argument type is funcptr like we did for the structure earlier, and then I use this finptr to find the sum of two numbers. You can see that I am calling this add function indirectly via this finptr, which contain this value or the fptr value, which is actually the address of add function. That means it's very straightforward. If you don't know how to use this function pointer, you should watch one of my previous video series where I explain function pointer in detail. Now you can see that the sum of 2 and 3 is 5. That means the add function is called successfully using this f in ptr. You see that almost the syntax while using v underscore arg function is very simple, and you see how to call or pass different data types to this variadic function. There are some expressions. Now what about this last two arguments? The first one is a character and the second one is a float. Now we will first check the case of character. Again, as you have seen from this previous example where we pass character pointer, integer pointer, function pointer, what we apply the same rule for that case too. So let me comment out the first line. Here you can see I created a character variable because I am going to receive or retrieve a character variable. So the variable name is y. Then I use var function passing the pr1, and then the data type I am going to retrieve, which is actually character. This makes sense. From the previous way we actually retrieved other arguments, and the subsequent line I am just trying to print that variable. So let's run this code. Before running, I will just compare it. Here you can see it is throwing me a warning that character is promoted to integer when passed through. Warning is shown in this line where we are actually using var function to retrieve the character using this syntax. It is giving me a hint that so you should pass int not char to var function. So it is recommending me that I should change this value of char to int. This should be the thing I should use. Let us check whether that is true or not. I will compile and run. There is one more thing you need to be careful. It is also saying that if this code is this program will abort. That means it will terminate abruptly. So if I run this code, you can see that's illegal hardware instruction. All other lines have been printed successfully, but when this line is reached where I try to retrieve the value, the program code terminated abruptly. There is something called default argument promotion in C. You can go to Google and search calling variadic function. If you go to the GNU official documentation, here you can see when we call variadic function, there is something called default argument promotion will happen. That means the object of type character or shortint will be promoted to either int or unsigned int, and float will be promoted to double. This is the reason why it shows us that we should change this char data type to int while we are trying to retrieve a character, because in reality by default argument promotion the character will be promoted to an integer. So our normal syntax won't apply for the case of integer and float. So this is the way we should use it. Now if I try to compile or run the program, it successfully print the character value. Same goes for float. Don't use the normal syntax. We will be tempted to use this syntax because in this case I am going to receive the last argument, that is 2.45, which is a floating value. So I will create a float, then I will use pr once and followed by the data type I am going to retrieve, which is float. This won't work, and this will also throw the error. So if I compile and run this program, I got a warning, float is promoted to double, and it again terminate the program abruptly. You can see here all other lines are printed successfully. So once again we need to change float to double, because internally the float will be converted to double. This only applies in the case of character and float. Once you did that and uncomment this line, now let's see whether we get 2.45 or not. Yeah, we get that value 2.45. Once you used all these variable or retrieved all the variable from this variadic function, you can end or call VAL function and pass the object we created earlier, object of type VAList we created earlier. Once you did that, you are not supposed to use to access any other member element. We know that we have only passed up to this optional argument. If we try to use this same object to access more arguments which are not actually passed, it may or may not cause error but will cause undefined behavior. This is an undefined expressional case in C language. Here I am trying to retrieve a character array or string which is not actually present, because the last argument we passed was a float, then an integer and another float. If I compile and run this program, you can see that I am getting some garbage value for this particular character string and garbage value for this integer and float too. So this is undefined. So if you need to access the same argument once again, you cannot reuse this par1. Once you access the last element of this variadic function, this PRarg1 will not be useful anymore. So in this case you can use VA copy function, but you need to do this as soon as you create PRarg1. If you need to access this optional argument more than one time, you need to create two arguments of type VA list, PRarg1 and PRarg2. Then you can use VA copy function to copy PRarg1 value to PRarg2. Then later use that PRarg2 type to access the integer once again. So here you can see the PRarg1 is not valid anymore, since I am calling PRarg VA and passing PRarg1 to it, as well as we reach the end of the optional argument. In this case we can again access the first argument, that is first optional argument, that is 12, an integer, using this PAR2. So as you can see, I did that. I call VARG function, then passed PARG2, and the data I am going to retrieve of type integer. Then I am assigning it to an integer, then I am printing the value. Here you can see the value of x1 is stored. That means the first value, first optional argument we passed. So this is the way you use a VARG function.